Good morning, everybody. I think I know some of the faces, so I will continue. I didn't put my title because today the first time I'm going to talk about myself, so it's a little bit difficult. Normally my background, to scare you, is I'm a military background as well as a business background. But today I talk, how does it come that I'm in Ethiopia in 2012, in this century, 21st century, and produce a jam, a company, and I consider myself, call me farmer, Dr. Mitslal Kifleyesus-Matschie. So that is what I'm going to talk. And actually the topic I would like to talk, I'm not going up and down. The topic I'm going to talk is what makes me do it this way, and is there any special energy within me that belongs only to me that makes it possible that I'm great or this and that or happy. Basically, I'm a very happy person and consider myself very successful and one of the leading person in the world to mold the society the way it has to go into the 21st century. I want this society to be environmental, social, and profitable. So as a result, the question that I discussed with the others was, is there a special energy within me which makes it different than the other ones? Unfortunately, no. I don't have any special energy. My grandfather used to be a traditional healer, but he has not left to me any extraordinary power. What my power lies is, I don't know how, but I know the time when I was 23, went to South Africa and make a speech, I got a key, a clue that I can link myself with everybody in the whole of a society and get the energy of everyone with me linked and achieve my dreams. And I'm going to try to show it to you in a way of a little bit scientific and a little bit materially, how do I make it? So actually, my dream has happened. I have fulfilled my personal, my family, my friends. I have empowered a lot of men, empowered a lot of women. I did it with the energy of everybody, and I'm grateful to have a lot of you and make sure that I don't take all your energies rather than you take mine. So the next one, this is me when I was a little girl. And the reason I put this photo is because I want to tell every girl, because we Ethiopians, when we were living, I had 10 brothers and sisters, and plus 10 others which my father has adopted directly or indirectly. And this little girl, which you see that side and this side, was one of the strongest girls. And I had a lot of brothers. I don't know how many of you have brothers, Ethiopian brothers. And they used to upset me because I like it to be clean. And I would clean in the house, and they would come with their shoes and make it dirty. So I would clean it again and prepare myself how I am going to talk with them when my brother comes. But when he comes, not that strong woman who was washing the dishes and cleaning the house would come out, but the little girl who has this voice of, you know, that voice. And I used to ask myself, when would it come, this little girl? And that little girl, and that strong person came out when I was 23, as I said, in South Africa, making a speech to 41 countries about arms control and disarmament. And with all my naivety of the world, I told the whole African nations, why should they ratify the Chemical Weapons Convention, and why should we stop talking about colonialism and neo-colonialism? Why shouldn't we do this? And this way I went, and I became a mother of 2 kids, a husband, all the things what one could wish. And then one day I had to come back to my origin, which means to my inside. Partly you get those keys whether you meet someone in somewhere or you get sick. And I was partly sick. In the middle of Europe, I used to be in one of, you know, all of you love to enjoy the 3D images, the 3D films. I suppose all of you know that. I'm one of those persons who have brought 3D images in the world market from the military side to the civil society. But despite this, there was no deeper satisfaction of being linked because I was living in Europe. Fantastic. I love 21st century. I'm one of those who applied mobile applications. But there was something missing linked to the other side of the nature. And that's why I came back home. I became back home. Home is not Ethiopia for me. Home is 16th century, 12th century, back to the Middle Age, and where the source of energies are when I don't get them in the 21st century. So actually, my achievement is that to show you, actually, if you don't get it in the 21st century in the Hilton, Sheraton, or in Addis, anywhere else, there is another source of energy which you can get it, especially when you are in Ethiopia or somewhere in the other part of the world. That is the 16th century and the 20th century. So this is what I do. Actually, you can ask yourself, why did I start to make a jam? I suppose I'm not going to get interaction with the people, but you can guess. Could it be that I started to get a jam because I wanted money? Which is possible because I make organic jam coming from non-organic background. It could be I want to have a prestige. It could be I want to help the Ethiopians, the obvious things, which is not the case. None of the reason was the motivation for me to create one of the called successful jam and organic food processing. By the way, the Ecopia, which we're talking about, is dealing, I'm a farmer of farmers of 11,000 farmers in Ethiopia only. I'm working in Ethiopia with 11,000 very poor farmers. People who work with me are deaf groups, HIV patients, all what you can consider in Ethiopia. I'm working in South Sudan and other countries. So the reason why I started the company was because I was heavily angry. I came to Ethiopia, I stayed in Addis Ababa University, Professor Andreas and others, and then I had many problems. I couldn't make it. I came with 30,000 euro to create a venture capital in Addis, but I couldn't make it. So I went to the Ministry of Education, who was my teacher at that time, and when I was a student, and I went to complain that it is difficult to work in Ethiopia. There is thousands of problems and so forth. And she left me, the minister, reminding me when I was 17, I left Addis Ababa by saying, we don't need consultants, we need people who show us how to do it. And she said, no audience, show me how to solve it. I was absolutely furious. So with all my anger, I went to the smallest part of a friend of mine's house with 2 white kids. And I said, give me 1,000 US dollar. And if I don't make it in 6 months, 25,000 US dollar value company and registered in Ethiopia, my PhD should be thrown out and I should be considered a 4th grade student. So started the journey. With this, look, in Ethiopia, I could give you thousands of problems why you could not create a job. So I went to any of you who knows Mercato, and you know Menalishtera, and do you know Gushabet? The food you eat here, and the rest of it goes to the Gushabet, and you see only the hand of a woman who would feed you. This is where I started the company. I had to go there and I said, I need to recycle glass jars, and because I needed a glass jars. The Ethiopian glass factory could not function for just thousands of reasons. So I started recycling. And so I started recycling the glass jars, and I said, there is a white man who likes a clean glass jar. So in Menalishtera, I went and I started recycling. But as I have only 1,000 US dollar, I said, okay, you have to give me, because I'm starting. I came from Nazareth. I don't know why I chose Nazareth. I came from Nazareth, and I have nothing. At that time, you will see in the old photos, I had short hair. I don't have a big breast, so this helps me to look a boy. And then I started cleaning. And then I needed organic, so I have a deal. So I went to Adkiltera. If you know Adkiltera, you have to go at 5 o'clock in the morning to see who is bringing, and I have no idea who is organic and who is not organic. So I say, like I used to be in Addis Ababa University, I went up the rolly and stand and I say, look, I have a boss. I'm sorry to say, because I'm married to a white man, so don't take me racist. I have a boss. He puts the papaya in one hand, and the other hand he says, you want to poison my children. This has got a poison. And I don't understand it. Can you tell me why does he say like this? And the people, the most poor, the farmers, showed me how to separate organic and non-organic in agriculture. And this is the way I started to discover who has got in Ethiopia a farm, who has not a farm, which apple, which mangoes, which you enjoy most of you in the supermarket, comes from organic farm, non-organic farm. With this I started, and then I made it all the way, and then after that I made a big mistake. Because this is the bridge I created between the 20th and the 16th century. I went back to the countryside. I started to process with my farmers and so forth. And then, you know, that pleasure of admiration of the 21st century. You come to Sheraton or to Hilton, you make a shower, and people will sit down and coffee and talk to you. How are you doing, doctor? And you say, well, there are problems, but my germs are doing fine. My capital is not 10,000 euro. I would make it. But that pleasure of talking, a journalist have been talking to me and asking me, how did I make it? How did it go? Which supermarket? And then he wrote it down in one of these newspapers in Addis. And then, unfortunately, I lost. Because when I went back to the Menalisha Terra, as usual, the first grade student wanted to recycle a glass jar. They say, oh, doctor, they took out the jacket and they asked me to work because I was much better than them, which means I have to pay 3 more times the price for my glass jars. So from 1 birr, it became 3 birr. And this way, I had to fall down and go back. So my anger continued. But still, now I'm going to tell you the principles I use it, what makes me successful in these cases. One of it is I went back to the 16th century. Why do I talk about 16th century? Because actually, to tell you honestly, in Ethiopia, it is the pleasure to be in Ethiopia that you can go back to the 16th century, to the Middle Age, to the Stone Age, in the same continent, in the same time, with a space machine. My space machine is my 4-wheel drive car, and sometimes a donkey, sometimes anything else. And I go to the 16th century and I discuss with them. But what do I discuss? You cannot. If you go to Gambela and if you go Bolose Bombay, who have never seen a jam, if you talk to them, I want to make a jam with you, it will be very difficult. So you have to understand a language, how to discuss with them, and that's what I created. So I go to the 16th century with my provocative daughter, which you see, and with a dog, with a car, with everything. And we sit down with the farmers to discuss what is my dream. And I show you my dream. Oh, can I go? These are my farmers. These are the people who create a company. These are the people who make the mango jam, excellent mango jam in the 16th century with the simplest technique you can imagine of pasta time, with a sophisticated, beautiful leveling of 21st century and certified, which you enjoy, most of you. So this is my dream. I told them, this is my dream. I want to create a huge company which has got a processing facility where people are clean with gowns and this and that. How do you explain that to the 21st, from 21st century to the 16th century? There is a way when you are talking with people and sharing your own dreams, you make it the dreams of everybody. And this is what I did. I used the technology to demonstrate my dreams. And I used the technology to show them exactly what they have, the raw materials they have within themselves without adding any money extra. I could make it. You see, these are bamboos, passive nose. Bamboos, which bamboos I use the production facility. And this is the way I would communicate with them. And then after that, it becomes the dream of everybody. And we work hard. We work hard like crazy. We sing, we dance when we are working because it is a bridge between 16th century to 21st century. This is the way the production facility will look, which is starting to be looking in Chincha. And this is going to be a production facility not by 12th grade finishing or PhD students, but by my farmers, some of them who cannot even read and write. And you cannot imagine the pleasure it gives to talk with them and to show them, to move, to walk with them from 16th century to here. This is just the dreams. And the dreams of not only me and you, but the dreams of my farmers. Okay, how do we start it? How do we reach it? We have reached it partly to this. Those of you who knows Ecopia production facility in Chincha looks more or less like those I showed you. This is where we started. Nowhere. in the countryside, and everybody would look at you, and you will sit down and say, okay, I show you how to make in the simple 16th century the pleasure of making 21st century. And this is the way we clean, and this is the way they would work. And the beautiful thing of 21st century is actually it's clean, visible, you can see it, you can communicate, you can deal with it. The beautiful of 16th century is that actually is everything there open. You need to dance, you need to talk, you need to communicate with people. And that's what we do. And we show them the most easily way to make yourself clean, to make your things in the paperwork, and they do. And what are those things which are really important? The photos are not good. To do is the determination. You really have to have a very strong determination to do things when you want to move. It is just to make sure that your space shuttle goes to 16th century and comes back to the 21st century at the time you have asked it. And so one of the most important things is determination. You have to want it and accept you will fail and try it again and then again. So it is simply from nothing which you have seen to build a production facilities is the easiest one, but to make the mind of people to move with that. And with this movement is what you get your energy. The movement you use normally for a space shuttle from 16th century to 21st is a huge energy of the trains and others which you use. It's the same energy. You empower yourself to deal with things and to be determined, because it's like a drug. You go back and you do it again and again until you make sure the bridge is fantastic. So that is one thing. The other one is the most important thing, is to have principles and values. If you don't have principles and values, then it's actually very difficult for me, for my understanding, to empower yourself, to empower the others, and to be linked with others. Because if you don't have that principle, it doesn't matter. You don't have to have the same religion or the same values, but you need to have values within yourself and principles which you consider, these are my principles, so that is the area where you get linked with the others to make your dreams happen, like the way your dreams, the dreams of the others are. So important are the principles and the values. And me, I'm a very, very ambitious person, and I love money, I love also luxury. So, but I consider I can make myself rich by still being social and environmental and correct. So when I go to my people, when I start the company, I tell them, look, I am this and this and that. In 15 years, I don't want to drive at all four-wheel drive car in Ethiopia or in any part of the African countries. I want to fly. So I'm studying how to fly, but you cannot fly every time like me. But you should have a car, a four-wheel drive car with a biogas technology. You should have the right, like me, to be, but the gap between you and me should not be extremely bad, so that I don't feel sad to see you in a poverty. This is the honesty. This is the gap. I will still have a better opportunity, but for that I'm willing to pay. We all of us have equal access to education, equal access to money. You still can have an aeroplane when you want, like me too, and equal access to all the privileges I'm considering to have them. And this is the deal I do, because I really do not like, there are two things I hate in my life. One is war, secondly is poverty. And I don't like to see people in the street poor. Because of that, I fight this too. I don't want the war, that's why I study military science, and I don't like the poverty. And I want everybody to have an access to it, and I don't want to feel ashamed that I have something. And I also like that people will tell me, she make the money correctly, like my father, my grandfather. So when I am in the street, if people say, oh, she is great, not because I had the money, but I'm great because I made my money correctly. I didn't corrupt, I didn't use slavery, I didn't use that. These are my values and principles, and this is what I sell, and with this I make a money. So you can imagine, everybody would like me, and everybody would give me its own energy to achieve the aims, because what I wish What I dream are the dreams of everybody. There is nobody who wants us to be bad. Is there anyone? So, the next one. The other one is patience. You really need an enormous of patience in this whole process of bridging societies and having that. And you notice, and that's why going back to the 16th century is one of the methods to do it. And the other one are friendship and tea. Actually, I have half a minute to say, I wish for everybody to access it, because this is not something you can talk like in 21st century, a language, but this is something you need to feel it. And if you are ready, sometimes in the near future, my space shuttle is just there, invisible. You can come in and I can take you with me, where the full of energies in the world that belong. Finish. It's my time.
Such